So, what about chronic fatigue syndrome, or CFS as it's often called? My name is Hannah Studley from the Mind Body Institute, and this is part of a series of videos I'm making to see if the physical condition, the chronic pain situation you might have, could be helped by the ideas that I've been sharing with my clients for over 10 years now. So, I had a client with chronic fatigue syndrome, a young man. He was a married man, a father of two or three small children. And he was so fatigued that when we were talking, when we were having a session, he could barely keep his eyes open. He was just so he had no energy to do anything. He could barely get to my apartment to have our discussions. So we started talking, and I started sharing these ideas with him about how we're always feeling our thinking, that we're up in our heads most of the time, either worrying or anxious. Maybe we're trying to work things out. Maybe we're trying to fix ourselves, our situation. Maybe we're about to lose our job or a relationship because we have no energy. And that's what our brains are actually experiencing. And they'll experience that as a danger message. There's something wrong here, right? So I started learning about his life, and this was a very religious young man, incredibly kind and sweet. And he started telling me that he was so preoccupied with studying the scriptures that he was interested in, that he would even walk down the street with a book. Right now, yes, these days we have a lot of people walking down the street looking at their phones, and people get into accidents doing that. But it was about him not wanting to waste a single minute because he had to learn from his books. And even when he was looking after his kids, he'd be like, you see fathers pushing the stroller with one hand and he's reading the book with the other. And it was very honest and a very honorable desire that he had to become more proficient in his learning and his understanding. But it was taking him out of his life. And he got obsessed. And I think this is what happens with a lot of us. He got very obsessed with this learning to the point where he couldn't waste a single minute. And it was exhausting him. Now, this might not be exactly your situation, but I'm sure the symptoms you could probably identify with, that he was constantly exhausting himself with a lot of mental thought life that was actually sucking all the energy out of him, so that he couldn't like do normal things. And so what started to happen was that as he started to see these ideas that I'm pointing to, that we live in this thought created world, he started to understand that his obsessive thinking was actually what was causing the problem. Because he'd been to the doctors, he'd been to some functional medicine people, he'd done the homeopath thing, he'd tried all those things, and like a lot of these treatments, they can work temporarily. They gave him a bit more energy. There was supplements and there was all kinds of other ideas. And they worked a little bit, but there was something still, he knew there was something still missing. So as we started talking, he started to notice that he was feeling a little bit better. And then he called me one day to tell me this really funny story. He said, my wife and kids went away for the weekend to go visit her parents. And he said, all my symptoms went away. Right now, now both of us knew that getting rid of his wife and kids was not the answer. That wasn't the point of the story. He loves his wife and his kids. He's a great husband and father. But the point was that his symptoms could go away. He saw that there could be relief. So why in that moment did his symptoms go away? Because he was more present. He wasn't up in his head worrying about wasting time, worrying about doing the right thing, worrying about, I have to be a husband and I have to be a father, but I want to learn and right? All that just melted away. And so his body didn't need to scream at him anymore. And that's what I'm pointing to. All the symptoms we have as any kind of mind-body chronic health situation, what if it's not actually the body going wrong? What if it's actually a signal, a message from the body trying to tell us something, like a tap on the shoulder, or a 2x4 in the back of the head for some of us, that we are spending too much time up in our thinking, up in the worry and the rumination. And that if we just see that thinking melt away and come back to the moment, we're actually okay. We all have innate well-being, and it's right there under the fatigue, under the exhaustion, under all those old ideas. And when we stop trying to fix it and change it, then we actually bump into ourselves and realize we're actually okay. Now, It might take a little bit longer for some people. Some people, it might take some, a whole series of insights, because that's what we're really looking for. We're looking for insights and shifts in thinking. And that's what this young man had. He had such a profound shift in his thinking, and he saw that his symptoms could go away. After that, they did gradually, and then he saw it disappear, not because his wife and kids were gone, but because he'd come out of his head and was present in his life. And he loved his life. And it was a happy ending to that amazing story. So I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions about this, because I know it might seem too simplistic, or, it's okay for them, but it's not going to work for me. We've all had those thoughts, but call me, write to me. Let me know how you're feeling, and what questions you have, because maybe this is it. Maybe this is the answer. Maybe it's actually simpler than you think. So that's it. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.